Hi everyone. Hello. Hi. You're welcome to episode 7. I can't believe we are in episode 7 already. Oh my god. So thank you guys for joining in today to get online Karemu. And we are here new not a novice nurse. That's the hot gist, on the street now. If you have not heard about new not a novice nurse, it's a book that I'm writing that will be launched next month. And it's a guide for international educated nurses. Hi. So if you're joining, if you're watching this anywhere you are, please let me know where you're watching from. If it's YouTube, if it's Facebook, Instagram, or wherever country you're joining from. So thank you for joining in. We're live on Instagram as well, and we're live on YouTube. You can watch this directly on YouTube. So we have a guest today. This is episode 7, sharing your transition story, new not a novice now. So for nurses who are international nurses, that means you trained in another country where, and then you're practicing in another country where you did not train. So you are an international nurse. Or if you're a graduate nurse, a matured nurse, you want to learn, you want to know how you can thrive in a new healthcare environment, then this is for you. This book is for you. So like I said, this is episode 7. So if you haven't seen or watched or listened to the previous episode, please, you can just scroll down on my YouTube channel here, and then you can find the previous episode. The reason why we're doing this is I found out that while I was writing the book, New Not a Novice Nurse, I realized that I could not put everything that I actually would have loved to put into the book. Otherwise, the book will turn to an encyclopedia and it's going to be too voluminous. So, in another way of getting the word out there about the book or re-emphasizing some things that have been written in the book as well. So this is the essence of the podcast, and inviting in other international educated nurses as well to share their story of success, of struggle, their strengths, and their pain as well along the journey of transition. So welcome, you're welcome. And if you're one and you would like to also join us in sharing the story, please, you're welcome. Please send me a message or send an email to noscochola@gmail.com. It doesn't matter what color you are or which country you come from. Actually, I'm looking for a diverse, population of guests so that we can have views from different countries as well. So thank you for joining in. You can pre-order the book, New Not a Novice Nurse, at the moment via my website. You can look out for the link, or if you go to ncohealthcareconsulting.com IE and just scroll down to the products, you'll find the book there. It's available at the moment at €9.95. And after launch, then it will go up definitely. So rush down and get your copy now. You can also get as a gift for a nurse or somebody that you love, anybody trying to navigate the healthcare system or a new environment as well. This book will be good for you. So thank you. I'm going to bring up here today now our guest. I hope you have a very lovely time. So before I bring her in, just the way I always do, I always try to touch on one aspect of the book, which I think will be very interesting for use or for our audience. Yesterday, episode 6, I talked on imposter syndrome, right? And today, I want to talk about effective communication. We have been talking about this before, but just to also emphasize on it, effective communication is very important. And sometimes when we talk about English language proficiency, and some people struggle with it, and that's why IELTS is there, even though some international countries are actually like Nigeria now, our official language is English, but we're still made to write the IELTS or OET, which I think is unfortunate, but we're still made to write that. But that doesn't still, some people, even though they pass IELTS, they still struggle with the communication. So communication is not just about English proficiency. It's about you being able to communicate with your listener or the patients or the other team, and they can understand what you're saying. It is not about grammar. It is not about phonetics. It is about active listening. It is about you being, clarity in what you're saying. And for me, I could share my experience as well. Sometimes when initially I will be asked, can you be more clear? That word will come. They could tell me that, can you be more clear? So sometimes I ask, what do you mean, like, can I be more clear? Am I not clear enough? But it just means sometimes we just model up words together. Um, Sometimes maybe we want to speak fast as well, and then we just model it up together, and it's not clear, and nobody understand what you're saying. And the fact is, if somebody does not understand what you're saying, it might be very hard for them to trust your decision about the care for them. So in that way, your competency could be questioned. More importantly, talking about communication is conflict resolution. Uh, for instance, even with patients, with families, with other co-staff, communication is very important, and documenting information that has been shared very key. So like I touch a lot about this topic in the book because I know it's very, very important, and a lot of international nurses have gotten into trouble or like getting their pin suspended and all that just because they did not communicate effectively. So I wouldn't want that to be the story of anyone else again. So if you would like more of this information, please then get the book, New Nurse and Novice Nurse, and then you get my information. Over the next week, I'm going to be sharing more each of the chapters and just giving some summary or brief about it so we can really understand the importance of this book. Now it is time. Let's bring up our guest. Are you ready? Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Welcome. Mention the name,
Thank
so it's
you.
a surprise. Nobody knew that you were coming here. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm just going to increase the volume here so that the people on Instagram will hear. So for those on Instagram, you can only hear, you can't see. If you want to hear her, just go over to, you want to see her as well, go to YouTube and you can see her live and direct there. So our guest is right here. That's Caroline Thompson. Caroline Thompson, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Caroline Thompson. I am a nurse here in Ireland. I've lived here for 21 years, but this is my 14th year being a nurse. I am a specialist nurse in the area of intellectual disabilities. I'm also a researcher. I'm an author as well and a small business owner.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for joining in today. I think the first time we met was at the book launch,
Right.
and then she's an author, like she said. So remember that I'm bringing you expert here, and then she's going to be sharing her story. You said that you've been in Ireland for 20 years, right?
21,
21 years, but you've been a nurse for 14 years.
14 years, yeah.
So where are you from originally?
So I'm from a small island in the Caribbean called Jamaica. And yeah, so yeah, it's
Okay,
been a
okay. So what informs your decision to study nursing? Because I'm sure that's not is that your first degree?
that is actually my second degree. I first,
Okay.
well, to be honest with you, it's a long story. So, growing up in Jamaica, I always wanted to be a nurse, and there was some incident that happened when I was young to one of my siblings, and it traumatized me for years. So I opted out from being a nurse and I wanted to go and be a veterinarian. And I pursued that for many years. But your destiny is your destiny, right?
Yeah.
And when I came to Ireland, I still pursued veterinary science and I couldn't get in because I didn't have the financial capabilities to do it. So I ended up going private to private college for a while and saved. And then I just went straight into nursing and I haven't looked back. But nursing have always been my first love. And I'm happy I'm here, if you know what I mean. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm practicing what I love.
Mm,
It can be challenging at times, but I'm enjoying it really well.
very. I'm so happy to hear that you're enjoying nursing. I'm sure it's going to be a different story for some other people. saying that they're already tired of nursing. We have a lot of nurses that are actually frustrated at the moment, and they're just looking
You
for a
do
way.
get those days.
Yeah.
You do get days. You do get days that you want to give up. I've been there.
Hmm.
I've been there. But your passion is your passion, and I mean, like, we're only human beings, and we have
Yeah.
challenging days, and days we want to totally give up, and days where we're happy doing what we are doing. So I
Very well.
understand.
Yeah. So, Colin, I think we're going to kind of twist the approach of this because you are an international, student, I would say, and now who became a nurse. So, can you share your journey as, in this regards, the challenges? I know, like when you moved to Ireland, you were not a nurse, but then training as a nurse in a country that is different from where, your home country. What was it like? Challenges along the line. Yeah.
So, as I said before, initially when I came to Ireland, I came with a work permit. Majority of us did. Then we found it difficult to find jobs or suitable jobs. So our other option was to study. I went into studying privately. I did a business study degree. And then after that, I ended up going to Trinity College to do my nursing. And I started that in 2006. So as a student, so now I went from a work permit visa to a student visa. So it was really challenging because we were only allowed to work 20 hours a week. So
Yeah.
imagine working 20 hours a week and still having to save to go to college because you could only go to college full time and work part time. That in
Mm,
itself was a challenge. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of late nights, studying and all that. But I made it, graduated from Trinity College with my nursing degree. And about 6 months later, I got a job, a permanent job. And I'm happy I'm in the area of intellectual disability because it's a more therapeutic form of nursing.
yeah.
It's not very clinical. It's like the social model where we
Yeah.
do practice a lot of the social model. Yes, we do have to use a bit of clinical um, stuff in it, but it's mainly a very therapeutic form of nursing. The journey has been a struggle, to be honest. As I said before, there have been days that are up and days that are down and days that are
Mm,
challenging and days I don't want to do this anymore. But your destiny is your destiny. I always tell myself that what I'm doing is God's work. I'm doing God's work. And when you're
mm,
doing God's work, it is going to be challenging.
yeah.
So I started working in an institution in a very big intellectual disability institution in Ireland after I graduated, and I worked there for a maximum of 12 years, not as a nurse, but I started out there as a
Mm,
care staff before I journeyed into the educational part, and then after I graduated. So overall for 12 years. And then I ventured into other institutions just to find a ground, a place where I felt safe to practice and a place where I felt comfortable to practice. But, it's hard to find comfort in an environment that doesn't really want to accept you for who you are. Because
okay.
although my studies, my nursing studies were completed in Ireland, and because I am from a different country, has an
Mm,
accent, so I don't look typical Irish, I am treated like an international nurse, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with
wow.
that.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting. That's a go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I am treated like somebody from who studied
Hmm.
from a different country, unless I like open my mouth and say I'm a Trinity graduate. They won't accept it. So I really appreciate the fact that you have a book out that says talks about being a novice nurse, we're not novices, not because, we might look different or we might have a different accent or whatever. So yes, it's a struggle all the time. And as we go further in the conversations, I will outline to you some of the issues that
Yeah.
I've encountered and how I overcame some of these issues to be where I am today.
Yes, thank you so much. If we think of it, nobody would have thought like because you trained in Ireland, you trained here, you shouldn't be treated differently. So, from the past episode, we're comparing academic, qualification and curriculum, and seeing that probably maybe that's one of the things that people struggle with because of the different educational background. But then before you can get registered here as a nurse, you have to go through, the competency assessment or the examination. So, and then now you have passed the exam, you have your PIN, but there's still this big question mark all around you as an international nurse, querying or questioning your competence or your ability. And, and that, if you look at it in that pattern, it affects us. It actually affected me. It almost took away my confidence, you know, and because you self-doubt yourself and then other people are doubting you as well. And that lack of trust and patient questioning, looking at you like, are you sure this person know what she's doing? And you have to work extra hard to prove yourself that I'm actually a nurse, I'm actually qualified. And looking at it, we have people that have 14 years of experience before they came to Ireland. And this is not just about Ireland, just to say, irrespective of the country where you're working at the moment, you went there with a whole lot of years of experience. But then just because it's a new environment, you're made to feel like you're a novice. So, and that's what the story about. So I'm going to be particular about something you mentioned there about acceptance, so that they do really accept you, and you have to prove or say that you're Trinity trained. So how was that like? I really want you to talk more about
It
the
it it's
acceptance.
it was it was really difficult, and in some ways it is still difficult because especially now in my workplace, I am employed as a nurse, but you have people still asking me if I'm working as a nurse because they tend to downgrade my qualifications. And
Mm,
I am not just a nurse. I have other qualifications on my sleeve. I have two masters from Trinity College as well. Um, I've also realized that we it's not only accepting that I am a nurse. There are other issues that comes along with that. There is a level of racial discrimination. There is a level of gaslighting. There's a level of you know, um not a safe space. It's just not a safe space for you to even question sometimes some of the things that are happening. Like for example, they would some something will happen as as a nurse we can't diagnose a person. But I will have
mhm,
some of my colleagues who are not even nurses, because I'm the only nurse in my department at the moment. They will just blatantly diagnose a service user, and oh, she has this, oh, she has that. And Carlene, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but guys, the only other option we have is either to contact their GP, or
mhm,
contact relevant personnel who can help them, who are more qualified. I cannot diagnose the person. I can look after them, do the basics as a nurse, but I am not the person to do diagnostics. So, and they only do that when it's bad. There are
mm,
other days when a person might have something small. For example, a person might have a high temperature, and I might say, "Hi, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. Can you please have some cold water? Can you please remove your jacket if you're wearing
yeah,
one? just let me see if if your body temperature can regulate itself for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And if it doesn't, I will check you again. And then if it doesn't reduce, the temperature doesn't go down, I will basically just give you some analgesic to help you
Yeah.
reduce the temperature. And if still that doesn't work, then I know for sure what to do next. But then I'll have some of my colleagues who'll be saying, "Oh no, they're fine. Oh, their temperature is fine." And I'm there as the nurse telling them, "Okay, this person has a high temperature. We need to do this and that." But
Yeah.
they would blatantly lying to me, "Oh, they're fine. You don't need to do anything." So it's like they're telling me I'm not allowed to practice as a nurse. I'm not allowed to
Mm,
do my duties for what I went to college for so many years. And in a way it can be really difficult because you have to listen to this all the time. And
mm.
it's it takes something away from you because you know you've invested all the time, all
All the
the
years.
work, to
Yeah.
have some to have some level of understanding of your own patients and what their needs are, because I am really taking care of people who are very vulnerable,
Mm,
and some of these um, service users can't speak for themselves. So I
yeah.
have to be a very strong advocate. And sometimes I have to really put my foot down and I have to say, "I'm sorry, but I have to take care of this patient, whether you like it or not, whether you think they should be fine, even though their temperature is high."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
like,
I suppose
that's not
there's some elements of micromanagement. Is that I think that's some of the
there's a
things
lot of micromanagement there because the persons who are trying to micromanage me are not nurses.
that.
Some of them are not even social care workers. They're just people who think they have the privilege and the authority. So
Hmm.
they exercise it, and that can be quite difficult sometimes
Yeah,
to
I,
to
I,
to
I completely agree with you. And are there any other challenges that you might, you talk about gaslighting, micromanagement, and the lack of acceptance. And so when it comes to language and cultural barriers, where did you experience any of that?
I I had experienced cultural barriers in the sense that I do try my best to adopt, right? Like um in in my country, in Jamaica, we we are very diverse. We're a very diverse nation.
Mm-hmm.
So to come into a workplace where it's predominantly white, predominantly Irish, you have to learn to adopt. You have to learn to probably, I found out that you have to learn to kind of watch some of the same things they're watching so you can have a conversation with them. You
And talk
can,
about the weather and talk
yeah,
about
it's not
coffee,
all
tea.
about the weather. Yeah, it's not all about the weather. And it's not only your colleagues as well. Some of my service users, they would like, "Oh, so and so happened on this show last night, and so, did you see Carlene?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but I don't watch soaps." But I found that I had to find ways to adapt to the culture so I can have conversations, so I can be
Mm,
more involved, so I can even advocate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I remember years ago, one of my service users, she was watching a prominent soap here in Ireland. I don't want to call the name now, and she obviously thought she was a character in this soap, and she did exactly what the characters were doing, and so she called the guards.
Oh.
she saw it she saw it on the soap, and the guards came to the door, and I didn't know what to say to them, what to explain to them that she thinks she's a character. and apologize profusely. So,
Yeah,
we have
I
to
think
be
I struggle with
prepared.
that as well. Yeah, I did struggle with that as
Yeah,
well. For me, like you said, and some conversations, I just feel like I'm not flowing. You're talking about a movie, talking about somewhere, but I don't do this. So I find that sometimes I'm not included in those discussions, and it looks more like I'm excluding myself because I don't know what
yeah,
you're talking about, and I'd rather just face my business or face my work. Yeah, so I think that that's true. That's true. So tell me
yeah.
how what are the maybe we just pin down some of the challenges, what you have done to overcome them. Or
So
have
as
you
I said,
overcome? Yeah.
I there are a lot of challenges that's quite difficult to overcome. And like I said, I try to adopt to the culture. Like, I find it difficult in a lot of ways to adopt to the culture in the workplace because every workplace have a culture, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And I find it difficult to adopt to that type of culture, but because majority of the time it's quite negative and it can be quite toxic, meaning that you have people who have like friendships and they have their little bodies, and
Mm,
I try to be quite neutral and liberal as well because I
yeah.
want to be able to get along with everyone. And when it comes down to language barriers, there's not much because English is the official language of Jamaica, and
Yeah.
majority of my colleagues would speak English, even though in my workplace currently it's quite diverse. They're lovely ladies. We have a lady from Poland, we have a lady from Uganda, we have a lady from the Philippines.
Mm,
So we all have different accents, and then there's a lady there from Ireland. So we learn how to communicate very well with each other. And if we have to slow down, even for the service users, we do that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people can be discriminated against because of their accent. So I try
Yeah.
my best to be more accepting of people and their accent because I myself do have one.
Mm, mm,
That in itself, though, can be a challenge because I've worked in environments where I probably work with a lot of people from Asia, and I feel left out because they're just talking in their language, and incidents
mm.
can happen on the floor, and you're needing their support, and you can't you can't get their support because they're trying to talk the whole time in their language. So that in itself can be a challenge, but we can always overcome a lot of these challenges by learning to listen more, for example, by slowing down with our speech, by repeating ourselves if we have to, and by learning the language, by getting in the mood of learning more about the official language,
Yeah.
because it's good to be able to communicate with with your patients. It's good to be able to communicate very well with your colleagues. You did mention effective communication. It's amazing to have that because I think it also reduces a lot of conflicts within the workplace if we can effectively communicate, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
I hear you there, Caroline. These are key things, and not just to you. It's happening all over, you know, to people of color. And I would say as well, like any international nurse. I'm using international because for you now, like I can't even call you internationally educated nurse because you are trained here, only that you are an international person who came to train, but then you're still treated as that because of your skin color, because you're from a different country, and so on, which is really unfortunate. But that is going to change, and that's the more reason why we want to keep talking about this and seeing how can we address this. You talk there about you talk about gaslighting, you talk about micromanagement. I know there are other key issues that go on there. So, but from your experience and you're 14 years now in nursing, what would be the major skill, right, that you think international educated nurses should have? I know you have touched down on some, like active listening, but if you just expatiate more on the skills that we need in order to thrive in this kind of environment in a new healthcare setting that we are not used to.
Yeah, I think it's very, very extremely important to communicate. Try and communicate well. Also, always do professional development. It's amazing how much is out there that you can learn to improve yourself as a person, to improve yourself as a nurse. Always also learn to advocate for your rights as a person, advocate for your service users or your patient rights, because sometimes you really have to put your foot down. I also think that you have to be willing to learn new things. On top of professional development, you have to be willing to learn things in the workplace. You have to be resilient, you know? You have to also be compassionate, be empathetic, always, never lose that. I also think that you have to have integrity. As a
Mm,
nurse, let your work speak for itself. Like, it can be very difficult when, you're probably new to the workplace and they're giving you extra work to do and you're like fed up and you're like, oh God. But let your work speak for itself. Like, um, I find that I used to be that nurse where, oh my gosh, I have so much, I'm overwhelmed with the work. But I know that now, that I know so much, that they're coming to me, oh, Carlene, can you help me with this? Carlene, can you do this for me? Carlene, how did you do this again? And it's
you
because
prepared
I got
yourself.
all
Yeah.
those extra work to do that I was complaining about initially, that has really helped me now to be a better nurse. And
Mm,
I, you know, I just think that you have to be critical, be able to think critically as well, and learn leadership skills, because you also have to grow, and
yeah.
you don't want to be stagnant as a nurse. So learn how to lead,
Mm,
also gain skills how to deal with conflicts in the workplace. I think it's difficult when there are conflict in the workplace and you yourself don't know how to cope or manage with it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
also learn to be strong, learn to take care of your own mental health and well-being. It's very, very important, that you're not burnt out, and that you do have a life outside of the workplace.
Mm,
Learn to take care of your number one, which is you.
you. Wow. In fact, I would say you just summarized the book. And in a couple of things you talk about burnout there. So there's a chapter that dwelt on mental health, and work-life balance for nurses, because I think that is very important. And as international nurses, sometimes we carry so much burden. You're in another country, probably your family are still back home and you are here on your own, or maybe you still have some children, child care issues, housing issues. There's so many social determinants, socioeconomic factor that are going on out there, coupled with the work stress, coupled with all this conflict at work, with you trying to prove yourself that you're a good nurse, with racism and so many other things. So I see sometimes international educated nurse in kind of like a web, within a web, and every other thing kind of clumsy around. So if you don't try to bring yourself out of that web, it could be overwhelming. And we actually had nurses who actually quit being a nurse. Imagine you, or you've been looking forward, yeah, you've been looking forward to going to this green pasture in quotes, and then all of a sudden you are there now and you're burnt out and having to leave the profession. just because of that. So I think it's very important to emphasize that work-life balance, like you mentioned, and I touched on that as well in the book. I touched on cultural competence. I touched on communication, which is very key. Professional development, like you said. So these are skills that we definitely need. But it's easier said than done. It is more of you actually putting them into practice and like this constant reminder as well. So that book, No, and you not a novice, is like a guide that you can just go back like a dictionary and just check. Am I doing the right thing? Or but like you said, some people don't even know how to handle conflict at work, and they can react in a negative way that eventually now have a negative impact on their pain or their practice and so on like that. So being able to resolve conflicts either with your colleagues, with families, or with patients or with managers is very, very important. So that's we're right on point, and it doesn't really matter. Like I say this, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Anyone can go through these challenges as well. So it's being open-minded at the same time. So thank you, Colin. Lastly, before I let you go, then, so I know that you were already in the country before you studied nursing, but some of this maybe you have also touched on it. But to be specific, if you had a chance, or if you were offered a guide, you know, or like a compass before you started your journey in nursing, in Ireland and in this new environment, what are the key features or key things that you'll be looking forward to in that guide or book? Or probably you felt like, I think I should have known this before I, started. Are there anything like that that you feel like you should have had more information about um, before you started nursing in this environment?
I think the whole aspect of research is very important. I know for every country it's different, and for every nurse it's individualized, right? But I think it's important to research the country you're going to work in as an international nurse. Research the language if you need to do language classes before you go, because not every country,
Mm,
are with English language or whatever language. Just make sure you know a bit. Same for the organization that you're going to be working for. Know a bit about them before you do go into it. A network as well. Network. We have social media at our fingertips. Try
yeah.
and find somebody you can network with that you're going to the country to practice. So, for example, you're going to Canada. See if you can find somebody who's already in Canada. You can network with them to find out, okay, I'm going to be doing this. Is there any advice? Seek advice. Look for help. Ask for help. It's not nothing wrong with asking help for help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, look into ways you can find other things to do, or find other people who you can talk to outside of the nursing field as well, because you can't let that be your only drive. you want to have
Mm,
new you want to have new experiences as well. So find ways to develop yourself as well. Not only professional development, but developing a little, how would I say it now, a net. So for example, childcare, for example, because you might have a child you have to bring with you, and you're gonna have to figure out, okay, how do I get him into preschool, or how do I get him into, you know, basic school, or whatever it is. Just find niches and ways to help yourself to grow as a person, and to thrive and survive in the country and in the environment that you work. It can be difficult. It's not easy. I must tell you this from my own experience.
mm,
But find other nurses that you can relate to and that you can talk to, and invite them out for a cup of tea or something. Do something
yeah.
that will can they can help you embrace the culture more. They can help you to find your way. Also, a lot of countries now, like here in Ireland, there are nursing organizations that are popping up, NGOs that can also support you as a
Mm,
nurse. For me, I felt like I was alone for such a long time. And it's
wow.
because I didn't know that these agencies or, you know, NGOs existed. But
Mm,
there are NGOs for almost everything now that can help you to survive and thrive. And never, please, never feel afraid to ask for help. I can see nurses now, especially from some Asian countries like India, really struggling. And it's because they just don't know where to find information, and they don't know where to get help. But there's always help out there. And this is one of the reasons why we have this platform. We have this platform because we want you to know that we are there for you. We're not just here for ourselves.
yeah,
That's the aim, that we, as we start to help each other to be better, help each other to strive, help each other
yeah.
to grow.
Thank you.
So
And just you're talking about why, the why. So, from the look of things, I think I've told you a few things about the book. Now, I need you to tell the audience on the importance of this book. I know you're already talking about it, but specifically talking about where to get information. You might not find them on Google, you know. So, if you have a book that is a guide for you, like a compass, so that would be beneficial. So, in your own word, Caroline, I want you to tell our audience why they need to get the book New Not a Novice Nurse.
so a new not a novice nurse speaks for itself. It's a it's a title that grabs your attention because I really want to read it. I know it's not like completely, you're working on it still, but I want to read it. Not because I'm already here and I'm already like in Ireland and doing my own thing, but I want to know things too. I want to know new things. So go grab your book. Let us all learn. Let us be more aware of what can help us to grow and learn as international educated nurses. It's nice to have a guide, and I'm hoping that yourself, Alonka, can do number two, a number two, because for some people they might be left wanting more. And I believe in my case, I might be left wanting more when reading this book. So please, guys, go out. Let us support our nursing colleagues to be more aware of how we can get help, how we can maneuver, how we can thrive, how we can come alive and don't have to leave the profession because of stress and
Yeah.
other challenges. So go get your book.
Go get your
Look,
book, says Caroline.
work hard. Know that you're not a novice nurse. You
Yes.
are educated. You've put in a lot of work. You're ready to go. You're powerful. Come on. Let us do it. Men,
Let
women,
us do
all,
it.
let's support our colleague here. It doesn't matter where she's from. It doesn't matter if she has a different look than you. Doesn't matter if she have a different accent. She's a nurse. She's doing this for us. Let us champion her on. Come on,
Thank
guys.
you so much. Thank you so much, Caroline. I do really appreciate. Thank you for coming, here within a very short notice, and thank you for all these words. They're, very, marvelous. Honestly, incredible of you. Thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you for watching. And like Caroline said, I'm not going to emphasize that yeah, even if you're not a nurse, you need to get this book for a nurse. I'm sure you have a nurse in your circle. If you don't have a nurse in your circle, then we need to check you. You definitely have a nurse as a sister, as a friend, as a mother. You have a nurse in your circle. So get this book for them. And you can also join the campaign team to, put the words out there and share this, because I've been there, I've gone through the struggle, and just like many of you as well. But do we let this continue? Do we let this circle of struggle, frustration continue? How long? So we need to break that jinx, and this is one way I think that we can do it sharing information, sharing knowledge, and there's no point, something, or you've survived something and then keeping it to yourself and feel like, well, I went through it, then you should go through it. That's not a proper way of life. So if I have gone through a situation, I've learned from it, because they said experience is the best teacher, right? So like, I'm an expert in this area now because I have learned through it. That doesn't mean that I don't have a particular pattern of struggle I'm going with at the moment, but it's different. No, the level is different. And just as I wrote in the book, that you can be new in this hospital now. Like, for instance, you said you changed job, right? I've changed job 4 times since I got to Ireland. And at every point in time, I became another new nurse. And I sometimes I struggle at every level as well. As if as I'm a novice, even though I had been working somewhere else. When I started my new role as well, the first few months, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like, am I sure I'm right for this job? And even though the employer saw me to be qualified to, give me this job, but I still could question myself at some time, like, are you sure you're really fit for this job? Are you sure you're not going to, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important that we keep sharing. Like I used to say, that sharing your struggle is like a medicine, to another person's stress, pain. So let's continue to do this. So thank you, Caroline, for joining. I do
Thank
really
you so much
appreciate.
for having me,
Yeah,
Alonika. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best. And may God continue to bless your journey. And
amen.
I think you're doing a wonderful thing. Bravo to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I do appreciate. I'll be in touch with you. Okay. Thank you so much.
You. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We're rounding it up today. I'm just going to, bring you up to speed with some more information about, new not a novice nurse. I told you that from next week, I think on the 20th, we're going to start the Brag About Your Nursing Skill Challenge. Yes, it is time for you to brag about your nursing skill. Time to brag about what bring yourself out there, because we sometimes because of everything that happened, like I said, you feel like, well, I don't think I'm good enough. Or people might make you feel like you're not good enough, but you know what you have, the skills that you have. So just using a statement, you're going to share your proudest moments, or the most excellent, proud skill that you have in a statement, and you share it on your social media. Just make sure you hashtag brag about your nursing skill, or new nurse, not a novice nurse, and tag myself, Nurse Kochola or Alain Karemu. The amazing prizes, look out for the flyer. For 10 winners, they're going to be having free, getting the book New Not a Novice Nurse, the ebook free. You have one of the merchandise that will be launched shortly. You have 1 year mentorship access to from me, and belong to a community of support, the NCO community, where you can get a lot of benefits and so many resources to support you. So I'm sure you want to be part of this competition, this challenge. It doesn't matter either you are an international nurse or not, you can take part in this challenge. It is purely open. Remember that I'm looking forward. I'm seriously working, myself and my book consultant. We are working tirelessly to make sure that this book is launched in the week of the International Nurses Week. That is May 6th and May 12th. God helping us. God helping us. Yeah. And so we take it up from there. So thank you so much. And if you have not seen the previous episode of this, story, please can just go back to my YouTube channel there. Make sure you subscribe, share, comments, like they used to say, and all that. And follow me on all social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on everywhere, Facebook. I'm not on Snapchat. Okay, TikTok, you can find me there as well. So thank you so much. Remember, I'm really rooting for you, and I want you to thrive. Bye for now.